Welcome. This is your girl Lisa Austin Granville, and you're listening to the three-time Stellar Award-winning gospel show. That's WIMG 1300 AM, and you're also viewing us on WPHY TV Mercer. And my guest today is the Carters.
Hello.
Welcome. We got Marvin and we got Carmela
Everybody.
in our studio today, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about the waiting game. We're going to talk about family and even the future. Is that good?
Yeah,
Sounds
let's do
good
it.
to us.
All right, so you guys have heard it right here. We're hearing from the Carters, and newly married.
Yes.
3 months?
3
Yes.
months.
3 months.
Yes.
And before you got married, let's talk about the waiting game. And we're going to just jump right into it. We got 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And we got some viewers that want to hear some things that they're getting married, or maybe they're married, or you can be a blessing to them, or maybe they're, even thinking about getting married, or just the dating process. So let's talk a little bit about your dating process and the waiting game. Because Marvin, there was a waiting game, right?
Of course. Of course.
Talk to us about that.
So, Carmela and I met about 2 years ago at Powers Kingdom Ministries, where she was actually invited to be a speaker. And long story short, she abused me, Mr. Steve, and that's how we ended up, me diving into her inbox, quote unquote.
Oh, DM?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
And
Yeah,
then
sliding in the DM.
She hit me with the Heisman real quick. She said, go to my website. So I went to the website, and then, I came back the next day with some kind words, and it swept her off her feet, and here we are today. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So you know how you have the his story and the her story.
Right.
So I'm gonna give a quick story
And in the middle
version
is the
of
truth.
it, just like he did. I did not hit him, okay? But we did meet that way at church, and when we met at the church, I was the speaker, and his friend actually put us in a room together and asked us questions, and we were both like, what is this about, right?
Right.
And then I was leaving the church to go get someone from outside, and he looked at me and was like, going so soon? And I looked at him like,
It's an honest question for an usher.
whatever.
Honest question
No,
for an
I was
usher.
like, why? It's not even
Ushers usually
business.
ask you where you go.
Oh,
It
right,
makes
right.
perfect sense.
So I was like, and then when I came back, we kind of made eye contact, and then, like you say, he jumped in the DM, and when he jumped in the DM, like I was so used to, I had been single for 4 years, and I was so used to the nonsense, people
Right.
jumping in the DM saying stuff.
I think it's sliding. I think that's the
Oh, that's-
proper,
okay,
that's
I'm
the
sorry.
proper-
No, I
it's-
dove.
It
I
was
dove.
dope. You dove
It was
in.
either gonna work or it wasn't gonna work.
Okay,
And that was it.
so when you saw her,
So
you first saw her, what
Yeah.
was your impression when you first met with her, talked to her, saw her? What was
When
your...
I first saw her, the first question was, why is she wearing a tutu?
What
that was
tutu?
yeah. She had a skirt, a real frou-frou skirt, and I was like, I'm not trying to marry Tinkerbell. She looks good, but I don't have the space in
abused
it. See? So
He's
yeah.
used to it. He didn't even say it's like normal
So
now.
she was really beautiful and things like that, but I was really focused. She was really focused, and so when we were asked to go upstairs to the room, neither of us were interested. We were trying to get back to whatever we were supposed to be doing,
Okay.
and my best friend was adamant about getting us together. He's probably listening right now, but he was adamant about putting us together, and so because of his persistence, it's the reason why I felt comfortable, like I said, diving into her DM and seeing what happened.
Okay, so I really like that. What it is that what you're really saying is that you honor your best friend enough to know that he has a discernment, and that you wanted to be, not only did you think she was beautiful and all of those other things, but again, that's fleshly, that's worldly, and we can't get caught up in that.
Right.
But the fact that your friend was the one who actually suggested that you should spend some time with her and get to know her.
It was two friends actually.
Okay.
It was one of my friends
her
too,
friends,
because once he dove, I called one of my friends who went to his church, and I said, this guy is in my inbox. Who is he? What is he about? And she was just like, Carmela, he's a good guy, and da-da-da, And when she said those things, I was like, oh, okay. So from there, when he had asked me, he said some things, and I told him go to my website and come back, and whatever he finds, it'll let him know if he wanted to really pursue.
Okay.
And he came back, and when he came back is when I was just like, okay. And then we were like inboxing a little bit, but I was like, here's my number. Let's just text.
Okay.
And so
So the waiting game though. Before you started dating, for how long? So after that, sliding into the DM, jumping and diving, and then all of that. After that, how long did it take for the first date?
8 days.
8 days.
I think it was 8 days because I was getting ready to go to Panama for a graduation trip.
Okay.
So we didn't have a lot of time to figure out if this was going to be or not be, and we went to Carrabba's, I want to say, and on that date is when we kind of knew that we were going to be something serious, because on the first date we're having a conversation when we left. One of her friends calls with an emergency, and I was like, all right, let's just pray. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he wants to pray.
Absolutely.
And so we were there, and we've actually ever since then been doing the same thing over and over. People just call us and they say, like, we need your faith, we need your prayers, and
wow.
we drop what we're doing right then and there to be able to do so. So it's part of our ministry. It's like spontaneous ministry, I guess.
Okay, that's
It's
wonderful.
praying together for others.
I love it. So 8 days, you had the first date, and so how long did you date?
Yeah, go ahead. No,
So
go ahead.
we dated before we got married. It was 2 years.
Okay.
But
And there was no real intimacy. There was
no.
Okay, okay,
So
awesome.
we honored God. Both of us honored God with our bodies.
Amen.
And it was very important to both of us, even though we didn't know, that was one of our rules or what we wanted, out of a spouse. But it was very, very important to both of us to honor God with our bodies. So we didn't want to have any, intercourse or sex before we got married, because it was part of our honor to God. So we dated for our marriage, the month of our marriage made it exactly 2 years
Wow.
of dating before we actually got married. But we actually dated 18 months before he proposed. And then after that, 6 months before we got married. So
Wonderful. So, Carla, you were actually married previously.
yes.
And Marvin, you've never been married.
Never.
Little age difference.
Yes.
Little age.
Little bit. No, small. But
I did. Oh,
okay. But
Perception.
and
It's all
Carmel,
perception.
yeah, it's all, and you know what? Age is really, truly, when it comes to spiritual things, it really is just a number.
Right.
Because, you can be just as wise and just as discerning and loving, and obviously we see that, and I watch you guys on Facebook, and it's really a blessing. So here it is, you guys are now married 3 months. 3 months. What would you tell someone who is listening about the waiting part? Why is it so essential to wait?
Well, for me, as a woman, it's very important to have a standard and to have boundaries. A lot of times women in our society don't have a standard and they don't honor themselves, and so therefore they allow, when men come into their lives, they allow the men to persuade them to take down their boundaries, because they think, oh, if I take down my boundaries, then he'll want to be with me. And in actuality, he really still don't want to be with you. So for me, I would tell women to keep your boundaries up and to continue to have a standard, because the man that God has for you will honor that standard and he will honor those boundaries.
Awesome. And what about you, Marvin?
I think one of the things that I would say is kind of twofold for men. Number one, get your healing and let the process be the process. There are so many men out who are hurting. There are so many men out who have undefined issues, and they call it stress. They call it, I just need to get in my routine. I just need to go work it off, or even go date it off, or whatever. Get your healing. The second thing that I would say is you have to trust the process. Trust the dating, trust the learning education process, and also trust the fact that your investment is not wasted. Even if the relationship doesn't go well the first time, trust the process and let the process bring out of you what is necessary for the right one who comes, and all of the learning will benefit that relationship at the right time.
I see. I like that. That's wisdom. But talk about that investment. Because a lot of times men and women don't understand that. They're wanting what they're looking at and who they're dating, that to be it. But talk about the investment. Explain that a little bit more.
So when you think about investment, the Bible says very, very plainly, the parable of a sower. He says, a man put a seed in the ground. Well, if you think of every relationship as a seed, and you have to be diligent over every seed to hope that and see that it is watered properly. There are some that are going to fall by the wayside only because the reputation that is surrounding it and the conversation that is involved in it, people are going to scorch that seed with their hot breath or their hot words or whatever. But then there are some people who, as much as you water, they're going to water. As much as you sow, they're going to sow. And I can honestly say that with Carmela, she matched my efforts. I tried to match her efforts as much as possible. And that is what you see, is us growing together at the same time. as opposed to one person growing and looking at the other and saying, why aren't you where I am?
That's good. That's good. Wonderful. So you got you a good one, and you got you a good one. I love this. You know,
I do. I'm really happy.
I do. It's nothing like a praying man and a praying woman to honor God. And so let's talk about family. You know, I know that the dynamics, you know, just coming in. How is that for you? You know, coming in. And
It's fun. I think that a lot of people have a preconceived notion of it's going to be hard, right? They're in the next room. Zoe, Zanaya, Caden, and also Sam. They are wonderful individuals who have a great capacity to love and to accept. And I believe that they've done that. They've accepted me. But it also comes with my ability to come in and to learn, and to sometimes not necessarily come in with my own preconceived notions, but sometimes learn the culture of the house. And the culture of the house, it may be very different from mine, my own growing up, but the truth of the matter is, if I'm going to be effective, I have to become a learner. I have to become a student to the culture of the family. And it's not that she has a culture that it's not something that I can adapt to, excuse me. It's something that I can come in and say, you know what, I see this working well, I see this, that it could get a little bit better, and we work together to build that difference, so that we have a house and not just her have a house and I live there.
awesome. And so how are the kids? How are they?
They love him. They actually do.
They're over there.
All right, we got a thumbs up
They
for.
got a thumbs
I
up.
got a maybe from the oldest,
Okay.
and I think Caden's asleep. So
Okay. Okay. So
They love him. They love him. They do. It was important when we were dating. When he met them, they were like, yeah. And my daughters are very prophetic, both of them. And one is a dreamer, and one is just prophetic. And one of my daughters, when we had a time when we were separated, she said, y'all gonna be back together. I know it. I know that God is speaking to me, and I know God is telling me that you guys are going to be back together. And I was like, no, we're not, you know. And then, look, we're back together, you know. So they love us. And I think they love that he's the priest of our home.
amen.
He comes in and he takes authority over the atmosphere. Although he's a student, he's not coming in like being mean or like, no. But his no means no, his yes means yes, but there's an explanation there, there's love there, and I think the children actually feel when he's disciplining, it's in love, you
Right,
know,
exactly.
and it's not in hitting or anything like that, it's in love, and you can feel it. So I love that God honored our family, and sometimes like I can get teary-eyed just thinking about it. I love that God gave me him, because I can't imagine, my family is feisty, my daughters are feisty just like I am, you know, and I couldn't imagine anyone else being their stepfather or father to them, because
He's patient.
he's patient, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when I'm not patient, like homework, I'm not patient with that. I'm like, no, you know, screaming because I'm trying to cook and stuff, and I'm like, babe, could you get that? And he's right over there, and he does a way better job than I do. And I've been parenting them their whole
and
life.
see, and that's what it takes, humility like that, because we
Right.
don't understand. We really think that some people, they come into a marriage think they have the answers. You know, they could think they have the answers because they're older. They can think because they've been in church longer. But it seems like you guys are a working balance,
Yes.
and that you called him the priest of the house,
Mhm.
and you seem like you're a submitted wife, and I love that, because sometimes people don't want to hear that word submission anymore.
Right.
It's an ugly word to say,
Right.
but to God it's a beautiful
It
word,
is.
and we honor what God
Right.
honor. So talk just a little bit. We have to take a break in a minute, but
Okay.
talk a little bit about submission and what that looks like.
Well, I couldn't be submitted to him if he wasn't submitted unto God.
Amen.
Like, I know he's submitted unto God, because I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and he's praying, he's speaking in tongues, he's on the side of the bed, and I'm like, come on, I want to go to sleep, you know. He actually walks through our house and he anoints our house. So for me, submission isn't hard because he's submitted unto God. You know, there's sometimes, and another thing is that people think that when you're submitted, you don't have an opinion, some men. But with this man, I have an opinion, and I can be submitted unto him.
And she
That's-
voices it.
And I
appreciate
voice
it.
my opinion, and he does too. So
Absolutely. And but you're going to have some people say, well, it's easy to be submitted if he's doing all of that.
Mhm.
but there will be days when he's,
Absolutely.
because we all have these days.
Mhm.
and there has been days.
Because at the end of the day, I share with women and men, submission is really always unto God.
Right.
So even if he doesn't act like that every day,
Mhm.
what we do to honor God.
Right.
And that's what I see. That's what I'm hearing. That your love for God above all,
Right.
and that's a wonderful thing. But look, we got to take a break.
Okay.
It's been too quick, but listen, for those who are listening, this is your girl, Lisa Austin Granville, and you're listening to the 3-time Stellar Award-winning gospel station right here in Trenton, New Jersey. And you're also viewing us on WPHY TV Mercer. And we'll be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back. This is your girl, Lisa Austin Granville, and you're listening to WIMG 1300 AM and viewing us on WPHY TV Mercer. And in our studio, we have the Carters.
Yes.
We have the Carters, Marvin and
Praise it up.
Carmela.
Praise it up.
That's it. Praise it up. Praise it up. Newly married for only 3 months, but they played the waiting game.
Yes.
There was no intimacy prior to their marriage. They dated for 2 years. They courted, and then they got married.
Yes.
And we were talking about family and submission. And so, and he's the priest. And, you know, so if he's the priest, what is she to you?
So,
Good question.
right. So, there's a one of my favorite scriptures that I found. There was a woman in the Bible. I want to say it was John's wife. I don't know. I can't remember. But it is one of my favorite stories. And the husband's like, you know, the angel came and we're gonna die. We're gonna die. And the wife says, hold up, pump your brakes. If the angel was here to kill us, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Right.
He's trying to tell us something. And so what I appreciate about that is, while I don't necessarily have a name, I can call it the priestess, the prophetess, whatever you want to call her. What I believe is that she is a spiritual compass for the house. And while I give a heading, she's like, all right, well, this is how we can work this out. She's great with money. She's good with saving. She coupons when, well, you know, she gets coupons.
That's a
And
good thing.
she's very wise, and she knows what she's doing, and I appreciate that because it allows me to focus on what is God saying for the family. Where do we need to go? What do we need to do? And not to make it all spiritual, but sometimes when she needs a break, I can come in and say, if she's not here, the house still functions, and that is the power of submission. When you can submit, when both people can submit, it doesn't matter who submits more or less. You
That's
can
it.
step into the place
Submitting one
right
to
in the
another.
moment. Yeah.
That's good.
We're on TV.
It is okay. Listen, God honors marriage, and you know I share that with people all the time. Have you ever heard the Wigglesworth story? I think I shared that with you, Carmela, one time. Wigglesworth story.
Okay.
Well, actually, he was a very, very mean man. And what he did was he had a beautiful wife one day, and he had a beautiful wife, and she was a submitted wife. But he was mean, and he yelled at her and told her to get out the house. So what she did is she went out the house and she sat on the back porch because he would leave every day through that back porch from the kitchen. So guess what? When he woke up in the morning to get ready to go to work, he went out that door, and you know who was there? She sat there at the door, and she fell in the door when he opened it, and she said, "What would you like for breakfast?" That's powerful.
Right.
That was a true story, and he became a better man because of her. Because what we do will affect our home. Love draws. See, some people may never, they may never receive the love, but you both continue to do what you do, and that's love God first.
Right. Absolutely.
And I see that. So tell me about this ministry, because you guys I see things that you guys are going to be working together, because you're both in education, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So talk about your future. What do you believe? What has the prophet over there, prophetess said?
Right.
So Carmela has I Am Grace, and I have my own ventures and things like that.
And I Am Grace, just so those who are listening, talk just a little bit about what I Am Grace is.
Okay. I'm a life coach, author, and speaker. So I Am Grace is the life coaching portion of it. Carmela Carter is the speaking portion of it. So.
Okay.
And so I do support her in her going out and speaking and book writing and things like that. But together we are open to whatever opportunities, and where we have found our ministry right now, like I said, is more an intercessory ministry. Not saying that we're about to create a church, not saying that we're about to become Benny Hinn and Sister Hinn or Sister Chick, I don't know what they were called, but we're not going to necessarily become that. But right now we are growing together, and we are finding where our purpose is intertwined. Not necessarily that we have to jump off the ship into the same boat and be like, this is what we're going to do, abandon this, abandon that. No, we're trying to figure out, like, if she's going to have I Am Grace, that's great. If I'm going to have something, that's great. But together in ministry, we will always do ministry together, whether it has a name or whether it doesn't.
Yeah, I definitely know that we have a story for the dating period, and I know we just touched on it, but there's so many intricate parts of it. So my dream and my desire is to definitely be able to share that, you know, in churches, in communities, in everywhere, to be able to say, listen, there's a man that's waiting, and there's a woman that's waiting, and what were they doing in their waiting time? And be able to share that part of ministry, because we haven't championed marriage yet, right? So we can't say, oh, we're going to definitely dive into the marriage portion,
Right.
because we haven't championed that. But one thing we did champion is our singlehood,
Okay.
you know,
That's good.
and we want to be able to share that with people, because, you know, we're new, we're fresh. We want to be able to share that with people, and we have been invited to, you know, somewhere to speak and share, and we share all the time with people. But
It's actually
that's
one
what I
of
would
the
like
reasons
to
for
see.
the Facebook Live. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons for the Facebook Live, just to be able for people to see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's us being silly. Sometimes it's us actually having conversations with people, because we do want people to enjoy and to ask the questions that they don't get a chance to ask, whether in church, whether not in church, whether just on Facebook scrolling one day because they're bored. You know, the idle mind is the devil's playground. So if we can at least catch them with the, all right, I'm starting to think about this a little bit more actively, then maybe we can affect someone positively.
And I also started an Instagram for us, and it's
Mhm.
called Connect to the Carters.
Oh.
Connect to the Carters.
I like
So,
it.
and yeah, I do run it. And I don't mind saying that, okay?
No.
Because I see us growing, right?
Yeah.
So
that's
I don't
it.
mind.
You have to. You have
Right.
to speak. The Bible says, "Death and life is in the power of your tongue."
That's right,
You gotta
right.
write the vision and make it plain. You
Right.
gotta speak that thing.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, we're gonna be bigger than Benny Hinn."
Right.
That's no. I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
If we don't speak it, who will?
Right.
You know. So
And
we
that's
gotta
me.
say- And
That's the me. That's me. We're going to be this. We're going here. We're going on
Yeah.
a big stage. We're going
that's
to
the
be standing.
compass.
Yeah, that's the compass. That's right. So we started prematurely, you know. I mean, not prematurely, small.
Yeah,
We're on Connect to the
absolutely.
Carters on Instagram, and there I share our love story. Nothing to do with the children, nothing to do with our business, us. What does
Wonderful.
love look like through
Right.
the eyes of Marvin and Carmela? What do love look like through our eyes? And people can see that, and it's authentic. It's authentic. It's not fake. It's authentic. One thing we promise, like, don't be fake with me. And we're not going to be fake with others. We're going to be real. We're going to be who we are. And so when you see us on Facebook, when you see us on Instagram, wherever you see us, even in the studio, this is who we are.
And our first argument will be going live next week. No,
He's funny. You know, so one of the things that I hear a lot is prayer,
Right.
intercessory.
Mhm.
And intercessory is used because we know even in the first, you know, in the Bible in Genesis, it started with Abraham
Mhm.
interceding on behalf for Lot and his family.
Mhm.
And because of his intercession, he saved Lot
Right.
and his family.
That's right.
Talk about prayer and how important that is to be able to intercede on for one another, but for your family, but even for your communities.
So, what I love about our prayer lives is that it was powerful before we were together. I
Wonderful.
think establishing a prayer life, establishing prayer time with God is important. It's probably the lifeline of our relationship. It's the lifeline of us individually. And one thing that we have committed to since we've been married is in the morning, you go to your corner, I'm gonna go to my corner, I'm gonna have a conversation about you, you're gonna have a conversation about me, and then we'll have a conversation about ourselves individually with God so that we can check ourselves before we come back and try to check you. And it has changed the way that we argue, because before, when you're in your feelings, you can spiral out very
Mhm.
quickly.
Right.
But when you remember, this is God's daughter, this is God's son,
Amen to
that's that is my rib, I'm his rib, when you start to remember some of those things, and specifically my favorite scripture with reference to marriage is, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. When Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was in his hardest hour, he was still praying for her. When he knew that his end was coming, when he knew that he was hurting, when he knew that the weight of the world was on his shoulders, he still said, forgive them. They don't know what they do. He
That's it.
still prayed for people who were hurting him. So even when she hurts my feelings, it is my obligation
to still
pray for her.
Because what we do unto God.
That's right.
Right.
You know, and my pastor always says, it's not our fault what comes out of others, but it is our fault what comes out of us.
Mm.
Somebody has to represent him.
Right.
And, you know, I see two representatives
Yeah.
over
Awesome.
there.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for sharing the story, and you know, I definitely want you guys to come back
Okay.
again.
Mhm.
You know, have you back in another year from now or
Yeah.
6 months, but
That's
tell
good.
us, you know. But I love the fact that you know you're very transparent.
Mhm.
I see on Facebook you working out together,
Mhm.
you know, trying to get it together, and
Right.
you know that's a wonderful thing. Working out and praying together and building your family together. So tell me, what does the future look like? Family, you know.
Yeah. Well, the future looks bright.
You know.
The future looks bright.
And congratulations! I saw you got a
Oh,
promotion, you little professor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Professor
Thank you.
Carter.
Professor Carter,
Yes,
congratulations.
who would have thought a girl from Trim would be marrying a professor?
God.
Right. But the future is definitely bright, like he said, with in regards to ministry. We don't know. We'll see how that goes, but we know what our heart is, right? But we do want to have a child together one day. We'll see how that works
See
out.
how it goes.
When the Lord plants it, we'll
Okay.
accept it. And other than that,
I'll
you
pray
know,
in that area for
raising
you.
our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raising our beautiful children to the best of our abilities, and co-parenting and
Yeah.
blending with the other family, other side of the family, and
And how is that? Because I counsel people. I think
Uh-huh.
to this date, I think I've married 2 people already. I'm actually on my 3rd. And
You
I just,
go, girl.
Yeah. So I just got, and someone else just asked me to marry. But I make sure that I counsel them for at least 3 months.
Right.
This particular couple, I'm counseling for a year because they're married. They want to start now.
Right.
So what would you tell them? What would
Okay.
you tell them that they know they want to get married? Because you know you have to think about all these challenges. You have to how you going to share. I heard he said that you're good with the money.
Mhm.
You know, he's good with the kids in some areas. So what would you say to those newlyweds, or not even newlyweds, those who are contemplating marriage? What would you tell them?
Well,
Some of
first,
the challenges could be,
okay, first, definitely.
and they if they have kids or don't have kids.
Okay. The challenge is everybody's a Christian, but everybody's not the same type of Christian.
Good. What do
So-
you mean by that?
Everybody, like when we came together, we were both Christians, and we were the same type of Christians. We both dated people that were Christians, but not the same type of Christian. I speak in tongues. He speak in tongues. Some Christians don't speak in tongues. I believe in baptism in Jesus' name. Some people don't. So it's like becoming together with a Christian that's like-minded, because it eliminates so many arguments and so many battles when we could both sing a song, an old song, you know, because that was good. Important to me. Another thing I would definitely tell them is to that's difficult.
We only got 2 minutes left. Let's
Go
go.
ahead.
Oh Lord.
That's right. And you guys have just 2 minutes, so
Okay.
go ahead.
That's difficult for me was because I had children and I'm older than he is. That was a difficult, and I think it was difficult for him too. I'm 10 years older than him, so we're in 2 different spaces sometimes. So I think that was difficult, but we talked a lot, and I compromised a lot. He compromised a lot, and we humbled ourselves a lot. So those are some things.
Ask the hard questions
Yeah.
and have the tough conversations.
Right.
Be willing to put your debt on the table. Be willing to put your these are my ex-boos on the table. Be willing to put these are some of the things that make me upset. These are some of the things that I don't would put up with. If there are children involved, these are the standards that I grew up with, and these are the things I'm not willing to tolerate in child rearing. Having the conversations, being very to the point, very curt. You're gonna have to come back to the conversations once or twice, maybe 4 or 5 times, but it's okay. Readdressing the conversation does not mean that the issue has not been solved. It means you're chipping away at the exterior so you can get to the root of the problem. And sometimes we don't want to hit the root because under there is mom and them and auntie and childhood hurts and parental hurts. And having gone through marriage and family therapy as a degree, and also having gone through marriage counseling, the stuff that you think you know about yourself, you do not really know. The Bible says that we look through a glass dimly lit. We don't really know ourselves until we put the mirror of relationship, which is why the relationship of God with God is so important, because he shows you how far you have fallen from the ability to really love God the way that you're supposed to. And then because you can't love him that way, you can't love others that way. And so until I learn how to love God appropriately as father, I will mistreat her as wife, as a woman, as a mother. I will mistreat the children as children of God, gifts of God. I will mistreat everyone. So learn to get the skeletons out of your closet. Learn to turn on the lights and be willing to step on critters and be willing to, you know, swat some flies and hit some spiders, because truth of the matter is, until you know that, you will be a detriment to your relationship.
And that's why I'm in love with him.
Yeah, I can see.
That's why I'm in
I
love
can
with
see.
him.
I can see. I'm a man of wisdom, a woman of wisdom, and you know God is going to do tremendous things in this
Thank
marriage.
you.
So we have one more minute. Can you tell people where they can reach the Carters?
Absolutely. They can do, like I said, Instagram, connect to the Carters. They can also go to my website, CarmelaCarter.com, and push info. They can connect to us there. We have also an email address, connect to the Carters. And Carmela Carter, Marvin Carter. Well, he don't accept people on Facebook. I do.
will leave you on a
Oh.
friend request in a
Yeah,
I think
second.
I just sent a friend request.
So-
Oh, no, not you. I'm saying other people.
I will, because I'm more the open person. And then you can connect to me and then it connects to
No,
us.
and that's good. See, I love the balance right here. But listen, you have been great here.
Thank
And
you.
I'll be praying for your marriage.
Thank you.
As
Pray for you
well. And thank you. I received those prayers. But we are out of time. But
Okay.
it was such a pleasure to have
Thank
you
you.
both.
It was
Blessings.
good
God
to
bless
be
you.
here.
And to my listeners, this is Lisa Austin Granville, your girl, right here in Trenton, New Jersey, and you're listening to the baddest gospel radio station, 3-time Stellar Award-winning gospel station. It's WIMG 1300 AM, and you're viewing us on WPHY TV Mercer. And we'll be back after this commercial break.